Hi there YouTubers, back for the third instalment of just hints and tips on leather making, the sort of things I've picked up. As I've said in the others, this is real basic level stuff. It's not designed for people with lots of experience. It's just the sort of like things that I've found have helped both me get going and then also start to improve. So from the last vid I showed you where I was up to. I'd actually finished that sheath. I'll show you that in a minute. So I've had a lot go on since then. It's been a while since I've got on. However, I've got a couple I'm doing here for some knives I'm making. These are a couple of hunting knives that I'm doing for a couple of friends, but I'll show you them on another video. And so basically on the other sheath I've got to the point where I was just getting ready to put the welt on and finish. So that's what I've actually done here. You see the little clamps in use, as I said. You can see the little bits of leather there, to stop anything from marking, which is quite important. So again, this light's been dyed, a bit of neat's foot oil to give it a bit of goodness back, and then basically just coaxed and worked until I got it to the point whereby I could glue the welt in place. So I've glued the welt in. Bit of a tip here is leave the top a bit long up here. If you leave it, if you don't, you'll tend to find as soon as you go in it, it'll suddenly shrink. Don't know why, it just seems to. So leave it a little bit proud up here, and then trim it down after you've finished. Makes that seems to give you a better finish. Yes, as I say, the welt's been glued on. I use the clamps just to make sure everything stays where it is and doesn't move. Give the glue a chance to set. It's only got plenty of time to set. From then, I cleaned the edge. You can do that. I do it on my little belt linisher, but obviously do that by hand. Just use the sandpaper and a flat block. Just gives you a nice flat edge to work from and work to for when you're going forward. Smooth off to a certain degree. Then I trim the edges off. Again, I use an edge tool for that. This is another reason, like I keep saying, I need to get myself set up. I've got stuff all over the place and I can never blooming find it. Yeah. So I use a little, and that just slides along, just takes the edges off, starts you being able to round it. From there, I've got this. Again, it's not something you have to have. You could use a ruler. And a cheaper version, I think I showed in one of the other ones, is something like one of these, and that just allows you to put the groove in for the stitching to sit in. And as far as I've got with this one, I use the tool to score it round, and then obviously the pricking irons then are used for doing the holes. So I have a number of different pricking irons, and basically, so this at the moment is through the top layer and the welt. It's quite difficult getting these actually through all three, especially on thick leather. So I'm starting, sometimes I'm finding it's better to use the pricking irons to get through the first couple of layers, and then a drill through the third, which is how I used to do all my other sheaths, just a little hand drill. I've got a pillar drill now, but a little hand drill, a little Dremel, anything like that, as long as you're careful, try and keep the holes nice and consistent. Once I've got the holes in on the back, once that's actually come through, then I'll use the groover again to put a groove up down the centre of that stitch line so the stitching sits in, stops it from wearing. So that's where that will be. Like I say, this has had the Resolene on the inside and on the rough side of the belt and the inside. Once I've actually got the stitch holes in and done, then what I do is I will use some dye, and I use a little bit of dye on a little cotton bud, and that just run it down where the grooves are and everything. That way you don't get the white leather showing through. So that just allows you to touch that up with a little and I say a little cotton bud does that just fine. I also run dye on the just a thin amount of dye, but I've done some dye on where I've done all the cleaning up along these edges before I put the edge coat on. Then of course it's stitching up. Lots of videos on stitching, not really something I've got a lot of time for to show now. It takes a bit of time, but as I said before, when I stitch, I actually knot every single hole as I'm going along. I'm just a bit of trying, like again, it's back to that rather than it's not how quickly, it's how well I can do something. And then once the stitching's done, then it's burnishing. So I'll give the edge a good burnish. Like I said before, just a drop of water. You can use, proper burnishing tools like these. I've also given a bit of a go for smaller pieces of leather that fits in a little Dremel. Little mahogany burnisher fits in the Dremel. To be honest, I found just damp with a bit of water, fast rather than hard. I do it about as quick by hand. So again, stuff I've bought and tried, haven't really needed. Once I've got to the point then the edge coat's gone on, then I will use the I've got these, and again like I showed you in the other one, my edge coat, both the edge coat and my brown dye. I keep in separate little bottles so I can keep topping them up, and then I know when I need more. Then it'll be on with the Aussie leather conditioner. That gives a good soak in. That helps to proof the leather, protect the leather, and also feed it. So anything like that, it doesn't have to be this product. Anything that will feed the leather. A lot of walking boot type products. A lot of those things in the past I've used boot wax. You know, anything like that will do. Even, you know, a good few coats of boot polish will work, and it all works just fine. It just depends, you know, how far you want to take things and how many you're likely to. If you're only going to be making one, you don't want to be buying lots of different products. So, like I say, some boot wax or not dubbing. Once you put dubbing on, you then struggle to get a decent finish on it, but it will waterproof it. So, it depends what you want. You can put the dubbing inside and out, or any kind of sort of, like I say, like a leather feeder for shoes. You know, things like that. I've used them for all those sort of things. Then, if you want a decent finish, then put your boot polish on top. I use the Carnauba cream. That's something I've just started using again. And basically what that does is it just gives a bit of a protective coat on the top and gives it a bit of shine. So like I say, from here, that's where these are at. So then the idea is you end up with a finished sheath like this. That's been wet formed and a bit of friction, a bit of wet forming. So as you can see, stitch lines, plenty of time. As long as you've got a good edge, you know, you take your time to get a reasonable edge. Using the groover, you can get a nice followed stitch line. See my mark, and then, as I say, burnished and edge coated all around the sides. The top was done, all the top area were done. I showed that in the other video before I actually finished. But then, you know, again, product that I think I'm really happy with. I'm very pleased with the improvements that I've made. So that is obviously what these. When I finish with the holes and the stitching, the burnishing, and then the end products, this is the sort of thing I will now be ending up with, and hopefully continue to improve on this. So, like I say, there's things you can, you know, you don't have to go out and buy lots of products. You know, the other things, they don't look quite as good, but when it's your own, you know, chances are when I'm out and about, this is going to get a few guys of boot polish on it and things like that, just to keep it waterproof and keep the leather fed and things like that. Because that's the easy way. You know, it's an easy way to do things. Same thing with any other leather products, like the danglers or any cases. You can use the same sort of thing. Good quality boot polish does the job, or snow lock, and that'll help seal the leather. And even once you've actually decided if you don't want, you know, a nice shiny finish or anything like that, boot wax will all feed the leather, protect the leather, you know, stop it from drying out and cracking. So again, like I say, I use these pricking irons. All you realistically need is a ruler, which is what I did for donkey's years. You just get a ruler and something like just anything, a little bradawl, and decide how far you want the holes. These are 6mm, depending on the thickness of the thread. Again, there's lots and lots of different sorts of thread out there. You don't have to pay a huge amount of money. A good strong synthetic thread though I tend to work worse. I found some cotton threads and wax threads, if you're using a bigger sheath, by the time I get to the bottom I often snap them and things, which is a real pain. These have a breaking strain of something like 50 pounds, and they hold together really well, all the synthetic stuffs. It's also easy to finish them off a little bit of a hot flame and just dab it at the end. Like I say, to mark out the holes, just decide how far you want them. Just take your time, use the ruler, it gives you the straight line. Mark the holes, little Dremel, you can put the holes in. You don't have to go to the expense of pricking irons and markers and things like that. They all speed things up. They give what I think they give a slightly nicer finish and a better finish. But in reality, it's how far you want to take it, you know, to get yourself going and learning, which is, you know, where I've learned a lot of the things. And then each time I've done something, I've gone and maybe bought another item of gear, whether it's an edge groover, which previously I would either, if it was thick, trim off with the Stanley blade. If not, actually just sand the corners down to get that nice curve, you know, to get a nice curve on the edge. So again, you don't have to have lots of stuff to get going. But as I've said before, you know, the reality is, you're not going to turn out a product like some of the top guys we see without these things, especially if you want to do a handmade product. But again, there's time for that and building up as you go along. So with that, I hope it was reasonably interesting. You know, a few hints and tips to get you going without spending a fortune. The sort of things that I've found helped me to improve, put some of the mistakes, and well, I'll catch you in another one, guys. Speak to you soon, and get out there using it.